Anybody out there? Or is everybody over at Michelle's? When I said I'd just do a check-in and a short chat, I didn't know there were going to be all these other bigger to-dos going on. So, oh, gotta get my pin straight. Where's that cat? Not under me? No. Oh my. Everyone is probably at Comfy Cozy. That's a big party over there. But I had said I'd stop in and have my own live. I didn't know that Michelle from Comfy Cozy was doing this big extravaganza. I don't know how she's doing it. She started at noon. She's going to midnight. It's going to be a long, she going to have a long sleep tonight once she finally gets to bed. But I thought I'd check in. I had said I'd have this. Katie's, I don't know if Katie's doing a thing tonight or if hers was last night. But there's so many around that I probably won't do this again next year. So maybe I'll be a guest on somebody else's next year. Who knows? We don't know what 2021 is going to hold. And I think we have hope, which is something a lot of people haven't had for a long while in 2020. We've all kind of had our moments where we've not been able to see that light at the end of the tunnel. And I think that's been rough on a lot of people, especially for those that don't have a tight-knit family or a community of friends around them, or even a tight-knit community. I think that's been really rough on them. So I do think, though, that 2021 is giving everybody a lot more hope, because they can see that there is light at the end of the tunnel. We've had I look like I'm whiting out badly. I still look like I'm whiting out badly. Oh well. I think it's because of that one. But it's been a rough year for a lot of people. With COVID, with lockdowns, trying to keep people safe. It's been a challenge. And I think 2021 for a lot of people, they've had a year where they've kind of been forced to introspection, forced to clean out their house, go through things. Hi, Tammy. When I had said at the last live sale, which was like 2 weeks ago, that I was going to come on tonight, and I didn't know then that Michelle was going to have this big extravaganza thing. I am finally feeling better. The only thing that's still sore from the sinus infection is down here along the jawline. I mean, it was bad. The sinus infection, literally everything hurt from the top row of teeth up and over. And I even had the 2 glands here swollen. It was the worst I've had in a long time. A lot of years. I think I was in my 20s the last time that happened. RL Vintage Treasures. Hello. And Serendipity. Hi, Melanie. But yeah, I'm feeling better. I've stopped in and out at Michelle's her 12-hour extravaganza, but wow. 12 hours. I don't think I could. I really don't think I could. Yeah, I've been getting hot showers when I can. Oh, and of course, my son wants to message me. This will be fun. I mean, I guess all you guys see is my hand going looking all weird. I just realized that looks like the old, like, crappy 60s and 70s horror movies where it looks like a giant spider crawling across the screen. I guess his thing is now over. Look, it says, okay, go away, child of mine. I don't think I mean, does he really think he's going to order anything at this hour? Oh, I was at Debbie's live sale earlier, and he was playing Magic, and it glitches my YouTube because I was trying to bid on something, but I was in the middle of a sentence when it happened. Thank you. This is, but when he's the host, then it glitches my being online. You're going to buy that silver. You're still after this, aren't you, darling? You have been after this for a while. Did I ever give you a close-up of it? I'll give you a close-up of it. It's New Year's. We'll give you a treat. I just think it is one of the most well done. The only thing wrong is I have to get this. There was a piece of masking tape there that said that this was from Granny's. It was aluminum. I knew it was from Granny's. She had tons of this stuff. But it's a beautiful, beautiful piece. You have to fight with my son, Tammy, because he keeps hemming and hawing about keeping it. But it is, who made this one? It's a piece of hand-wrought silver look, and it does say Continental trademark, and it's got a little Minuteman trademark on the back. It's not a trademark I've ever usually seen, so I don't know where it came from. Oh, look, now it doesn't want to cooperate. Stay in the box. I just don't have a box big enough for that. So, and the nails, the red nails is Sinful Shine from Sinful Colors. And it's called Shine Annie. Wait, where's the logo? Now, why it says step 1, I don't know. So tell him put up his dukes, you can take him. I don't think you guys have seen my son. But yeah, there's other little pieces but around, I know, probably hiding in the dining room in the server. But that's really the most impressive piece of that hammered aluminum. It's really an impressive piece. So my son was mean to me today. He wouldn't let me go to Goodwill. We were at Showcase Comics, which is here. You know, it's here. And then there's Daily Times and some car thing. And then there's a street. And then there's a Goodwill over here. And he wouldn't let me go. Make the box point. I'd either have to make it out of something big enough to fit like my entire desk in, because that's what I've got. I've either got massive boxes or I've got little boxes. I don't really have in between too well. I did have to Frankenstein a box for somebody for the amount of stuff they had from the live sales, but that wasn't too bad because the box was tall enough and it didn't have a top that I could cut the sides and then just fold it all in. And so I keep trying to get caught up on things, and then I keep getting sick. It's not been a great year. The rheumatologist upped my hydrochloroquine to twice a day, and I get to start off 2021 with getting tested for lupus again. Yeah. Still, you know, there are worse things that could be happening. We've seen them in 2020. We don't want them anymore. They can all go stuff it. So, but yeah, that tray is a beauty, but it's just, yeah. Yes, Tammy, you owe me money, but it's my fault. You know, I got kicked out of the post office today. I was like, what? So I had almost everything packed up. Okay, almost. And I go in and I have a box and I ship out a couple things. And then I go to the car, I refill the box, and I go in. There's nothing posted on the doors, okay? It's noon. And he says, no, I already chased somebody out. You can't come back in. Damn it. Why didn't you tell me that when I was in the line up front? Because I even said I had more in the car and I would have to come back in with it. And he didn't tell me that. And boy, did I give Tom what for. Because I see this guy every week. I gave Tom what for about that. But they didn't know. He was apologizing to people because they didn't know they were closing at noon today until yesterday. They got the email about 3 o'clock in the afternoon yesterday that on New Year's Eve, they were going to close at noon. He thought they were going to be open till 1 like they did on Christmas Eve, but no, they were closed at noon. And so I had 2 more, I have a box that I put, as much as I can in it, and then I'll just carry the bigger ones piled up. And I couldn't, I ended up only getting 4 boxes out of here today. And 2 of them were to the same person because 2 of them were going to Hawaii. And I was so ticked off. Then I'm like, Tom, why didn't you tell me that? I even told you I have more in the car. I'll come back in, get back in line. He should have told me. But I think looking how he was by himself, I think he was just tired out. Every time I've gone in there, he's been in there. And he said that he ended up, he did say he did his days off this week, which means then he's probably been working in that post office 7 days straight because they've been coming in and working in the back on Sundays to get packages dealt with. Yeah, I think Tom's probably exhausted. In my area, Brookhaven and Chester are 2 of the hubs, but even with Brookhaven, a lot of it goes to Chester first, and then it goes from Chester to Philadelphia, and they have been trying to change that. And so they've had a whole new routine to learn where they are sending trucks down from the Philadelphia big distribution hub directly to Brookhaven, directly to Media, and they're just picking it up directly from them and then taking it right into Philly. So I've had a couple of things where it never even went to Chester, but the problem is that when they sent things through Chester, stuff was getting shipped right on out. People were getting their stuff. And when they started doing that, they started not seeing things scanned. You'd see the tracking number from where I sent it from, and you would see that it said departed from USPS at Aston or at Brookhaven or at Chichester or Boothwyn, but then it would just disappear. I've had an eBay order where somebody has been emailing me. Well, she's been messaging me through eBay every single day for the last 3 weeks because this little bitty package vanished. On the 30th, yesterday, it suddenly said that it had somehow arrived at whatever the hub is for Wisconsin. It's taken most of the month to get there, and it's just suddenly showed up. You had a box sit in your post office from December. Yeah. And I've had it leave my post office. It does say it was picked up, but Donna, I think you and I had talked before your surgery that I was to wait until you had the surgery. Yeah, because you have the bag of bears and the egg cups, and it says wait till surgery. So, sweetie, you haven't missed the invoice. Now, how are you doing, Donna? You got the egg cups and a little bag of bears from me, not the doilies. Yeah, I think it's the small packages that have suddenly started, because I had been, knock on the wooden particle board of this crappy desk. I had been very lucky in that a lot of my packages just sailed right on through until 2 weeks before Christmas. And then it was a lot of smalls, and all the small packages just kind of like, poof. Somebody sprinkle some fairy dust on that crap and get it moving. Pony Express was faster, but it killed an awful lot of horses. You'll have to forgive me, I'm drinking. Oh, that's right. This, I thought for a second that I lost the tea bag, the string. I only set the alarm and got back up at 10 o'clock. So this is Thunder something from, I can't even remember the name of the tea company. I know they're the one with all the cutesy cute names, and most of their stuff, like Sleepy Time is the bear, and for the chamomile tea, but this is supposed to have extra caffeine in it to wake me up. I was up till 6 a.m. trying to get packages all set to go, and there were certain people who've bought from me before that I was just going to send it because I knew they were good for it. But Bigelow's? I usually drink Twinings when I can get it, but it might be Bigelow's. I just remember their chamomile is called Sleepy Time. And then this one's called Morning Thunder. And it has a buffalo on it, on the box. And it was a gift from someone, because I've been helping a friend's mother clear out her house a little bit. You sent one and made it in 2 days to California. Yeah, I mean, it's just so odd. The bigger packages, I've not had any problem with them. Most of them have just flown on through. But the smaller ones have just... Yeah, eBay is removing. eBay gave sellers a 10-day grace period so that we can get package negative feedbacks removed. I have 2 packages I have to talk to FedEx or to UPS, because they have these in them. They've got matches. Matches are still in there. You cannot send these through UPS, and that's a problem. And that I did ask at the post office, because George the Antique Nomad told me, oh, you just send it ground. The post office got rid of ground shipping. Ground shipping is where it's just automatically going to be on a truck. And that was something that apparently has now been cut, and they got rid of it. So now if it's something that could be flammable or liquid, you have no choice but to go to UPS or FedEx. Or just take the risk, and I don't know. I don't know about that. So... Hi, Chicago lady. You and I said hello in somebody else's chat today. I know I was in and out of a couple before I conked out for a few hours to catch a nap before coming in tonight to this. So I don't have to work tomorrow either, which was a surprise, but I'm not off medication yet. So I have to be off medication and have no fever for 72 hours before I'm allowed back to work. So Sunday I will be allowed to go back to work. So what is the, besides the negative stuff of, like, you know, the big surprise to all of us was, oh, a pandemic. What were some of the good surprises you guys had this year in 2020? Because we all know so many bad things we're all just so ready to see gone. But what were some good surprises some of you had for 2020? Celestial Seasonings Teas. That's the one. This is Morning Thunder from Celestial Seasonings. That's the one with the Sleepy Time. I could not remember it, and I actually had sold something from Celestial Seasonings on eBay earlier this year, because I had a few of the magnets they had put out in the 80s, 90s. You have a new granddaughter coming. Well, there's a good surprise for 2020, that you were going to have a new grandchild. Gypsy started reselling on eBay. That's good. That's a plus. I started a YouTube channel an entire year before I was planning to. It's been chaotic. I was no way really ready for it, but I dove right in anyway. So that was a good thing for 2020. And see, my 2020 started in December of 2019 when I ended up with a hernia from work and ended up out on workman's comp. So my year started the week before Christmas, my 2020. So, oh, you retired? Awesome. Now wait, it's awesome if it was okay with you to be retired. Because some places you're not given a choice. So this is a good thing. So this is all about good things. So must have been worked out and been a good thing. I would love to retire and do this full time. But because when I just hit 55 in 2020 and I'm working in a convenience store retail, even though I have management experience, because nobody wants to hire you. They want the younger ones that they feel they could pay less to. I don't care. Pay me. 54 out the door. Oh, lucky you. I can't ever really retire because I worked in retail for so many years, and most of them you'd have to be vested for. You'd have to be there 6 years at least to get vested. The few that even offered anything, and twice it happened that as soon as I hit vestment was when they came in and said, oh, well, by the way, we're closing down this store. Or the other one, the company went bankrupt. So the only thing I've got is from working 6 years at the art museum in Delaware, I actually have something from that. And I have a Roth IRA started when Michael was little. And that's it. So yeah, it's a challenge. I don't think I'm ever going to truly retire. Last week, my son-in-law got a contract for traveling plant setup. Oh, wow. Huge money for traveling, though. Let me tell you, that traveling part gets old fast. That's why they pay you huge money. But you know what? Take it while you can get it. My son worked a second job from, I think he started in the beginning of June, and he just gave his 2 weeks notice because he's full-time night shift manager at a Wawa, and he was working a part-time job at an Aldi's supermarket chain, and he just gave him 2 weeks notice because his plan was to pay off his car, and he did that months ago. But he 2 months ago, but he stayed to the end of the year. But now he's got to focus on school because now Wawa's paying for his college degree, but now it's getting to those classes. He's still got another year and a half. He's getting to those classes where he really needs to focus on them because they're not just such general knowledge stuff. Retired in nursing, 39 years in nursing. Whew. That's a long time to be a nurse. Nurses are not thanked enough for what they do. Yes, we do have hope for 2021, and that's what I started with. Is I really do think 2021 is got everybody looking forward because we have hope, which is something that for a lot of 2020 we didn't really have. Oh, Tammy, that's wonderful. Now he's got his own contract and hires his own team. Awesome. I need to get this place emptied so I can get I can get an electrician to come rewire the house. Because that 1935 stuff's crap. 1911 knob and tube, all that passed the inspection for the house. The 1935 stuff, every problem I've had has been from that stuff. Even with plumbing, every problem I'm having. I can't just go take a hot shower. My son has to get, the shutoff is in the basement. I'm too short. So I have to wait for him to go turn it on in the basement for me to have a hot shower upstairs because there's a leak in a pipe. So I have jokingly told my son, I need to date a plumber, I need to date an electrician, and I need to date a roofer. Because because all three, there's one spot here or there that has major issues that need to be addressed. So, but we'll get there. I will get there, one thing at a time. Tree is down. That's done. Now I got to worry about the heater and heating oil. So, and I keep still looking for a way to get help to get a heater. I got turned down for financing. You just let out a sigh, just go, okay, well, it is what it is. It's 2020. Have any of you noticed that you have any of you, well, let me put it this way. Have any of the rest of you gotten to the point where you just have something happen and you just let out a big sigh and go, yeah, well, 2020. And you just kind of let it go. You don't flip out about it. You don't stress up about it. You just go, okay, yeah, it's just 2020. If anything, I have found that to be a somewhat good thing, because I'm not getting so stressed about some smaller problems that pop up, because I just, finding out that I'm not going to get work New Year's Day, so I'm not going to get time and a half. And I just told the boss, going, yeah, well, yeah, it's 2020. What the hell? It's 2020. It's got to go out doing something. Oh. Yeah, see, Jersey Gypsy Corner Store. You know what I'm talking about. The programs in my community, the only thing I have been able to find online is LiveHeap, but everything I'm finding online says they only help with heating oil. Well, that's a problem. And I could tell that the heater's starting to have problems, because not all of the radiators in the house are getting warm. And the problem is that the kitchen ones aren't getting warm, and the thermostat's on that side of the house. So if the kitchen stays cold, the thermostat stays cold. So I already have to see about getting heating oil again already. And that's in my area. For me to get that tank filled, it was $457 the last time we filled it. So I've kind of been like freezing. And it's not like we turn it up real high either. It's never sees 70. I know some people do that. I'm like, how can you with heating oil? It's not cheap. So I will check Habitat for Humanity. I hadn't actually checked that one. And because I have a disabled brother, we've tried that route too. And because my brother is here, and this house is not, it's not built well enough in the ways that you could have a fireplace where, I mean, there is a fireplace over there, but it's not a way that it would heat the house. The house isn't built that way. If it were to be built that way, it would have had a fireplace on each side, and this one didn't. Though there used to be a chimney on each side until my father pushed one of them off the roof, rather than pay to have that chimney repointed because it needed to be. They just pushed it off, put the roof over it. And I figured out a long while ago that they never capped it. So that chimney is the mouse superhighway to the attic. So I have lots of traps hiding, and you didn't see them in any of the videos, but there's quite a few traps hiding up there and hiding underneath things in the doorway. So, because my cat is useless. The doctor is a useless mouser. Absolutely useless. And the big daddy one, well, he's outside right now. I'm not happy about that. I don't want him out there at this time of night, but he doesn't know how to use the litter box. So Gandalf the stray is out back. He'll let me know when he wants to come in, because he comes up onto this porch that's here, and he hops up on top of the gardening table that's up there. Yeah, fireplace can only heat one area. If your house down, I have friends that had a house down the street that was a 1928 bungalow, and that fireplace heats the whole house because the chimney is in the center of the house, and the fireplace is right there. But they also have a cast iron insert with the blower. So it radiates so much heat. And so if you have the ceiling fan on in the dining room, which is on one side, and the kitchen, which is on the other, and then the upstairs hallway, you have the ceiling fans on up there, it just rotates all the heat. It works great. Yeah, Jersey Gypsy, I don't have a mortgage. I also can't get one, nor do I want one. I got the house without knowing I was getting the house. Don't ever do that to your children. I was working part-time because that's what job I had, but also my mother was a polio survivor, so I was fireworks. I was helping her more and more, and I didn't know I was getting the house, and with the house came the disabled brother. I think that's why I wasn't told, because they were afraid I'd say no. But that's still not right. And so I have a house that has no mortgage, and I am thankful for that. I am also lucky in that it is not on the other side of 95, because Chester is a city that does, like many a smaller city along the I-95 corridor, it does have some issues with crime, and they are not usually on this side. The closer you get to the Delaware River, the bigger problem. Same thing in Philly, which is 30 minutes up the highway from me. Anything closer to the river and along that I-95 corridor seems to have problems. But my side, this little area, hasn't had any problems, really. So not like you hear about downtown. But I have a house with no mortgage, and that has been a blessing, because the times I've been downsized out of a job, I would have lost the place if there had been a mortgage, because it was all I could do to pay the taxes. I've had to have family members help me with that. One brother and a sister have been I've been blessed in that when I had no job, they helped take care of it. Ah, did Michelle come back on? That's okay, Tammy. Like I said, I didn't know she was doing this big extravaganza, and she's got way more going on than I do. So if anybody wants to hop on back over to Michelle now that she's back online, go right ahead. That's okay. That's quite all right. So, I just wanted to make sure I checked in with everybody. And, I know there's a lot of night owls out there that might not know about the other channels. And I had said, 2 weeks ago when I had my last live, that I was going to come in tonight, basically just to check in on everybody. How long have I had the house? I've had the house 13 and a half years now. And then we had to, when did we move in the first estate of leftover stuff? Because we got it from 3 storage units to 1. Those first couple of years, that's what I had worked on. This pile wasn't here then. This is all from the storage unit. So let's see. I was downsized out from the museum. Oof, that's been 8 years now. So 8 years ago, I couldn't keep the storage unit. And I had gotten it down to just 1 from 3. And that came in. That was 8 years ago. And then that was fine. I could get to the fireplace. It was mostly just this little end right here in the far corner. And then came the other estate. And boy, the stuff from June packed up a lot of this house. And I was working on that. And then 2.5 years ago came the book collection that I inherited. Yeah, I have. It just seemed for a while there like every time I turned around, something else was hitting the fan. And I didn't realize how much depression I had until, I mean, I that first year without mom was just such a huge learning experience. Because I hadn't owned a house before, and that was a lot to deal with that first year. Plus, I've got, at that point, Mike was 13. No, he was 12 when she died, and so it was a lot. It was a massive test. But when I lost the job at the art museum, he was still needing the last couple years of high school, and I ended up, hi Katie, I ended up very depressed because I had to send him out to move in with his dad, with my other brother. Mike technically is not my son, he's my nephew, but I've raised him since he was 2, so we often refer to each other as mother and son. He's a kid that's had 3 parents. He's had 2 moms and a dad. You know, me and then my sister-in-law Joanne and my brother Roy. And unfortunately, when he was just 7, he lost his mom. So I've been Aunt Mommy for a long time. So he when he had to be sent to go live with his dad so he could go to that high school, that's when all of the depression and everything really hit. And so for about 2 years, I just kind of stagnated. And then I got diagnosed with depression, and they put me on some medication, and that helped, and that got me moving. And then I started digging around on YouTube for different things to change my own thought patterns, find my own therapy. And that's all been a big help. That was what was the big change. Just deciding that I can't function like this, and then I got the right medication to help keep me on a more even keel, and then just working my own way through the rest of it. Because grief will manifest itself in a lot of strange ways sometimes. But that's been the roller coaster. And then, every time you start getting rid of, one inheritance pile of stuff, and then, well, here comes another one, and then here comes another one. And I don't think I have anybody left who's going to leave me anything at this point. Just saying. 2021. No. No. Nobody's allowed to leave me a house full of stuff again. No. So it's no. So it was a lot, but 2020 was interesting because like I said, I had a game plan. I have a game plan for repairs. I have a game plan for emptying the place. My siblings don't all agree with how I'm emptying the place because it's not fast enough for them, but they're not thinking in terms of the fact that this is a job to some extent. It's also a hell of a lot of fun. But selling stuff off on eBay and Etsy was a job, which is something that I could not get through to any of them for the longest time. Yeah, I tell my scouts that because I've now faced it, is that, you often are stronger than you think you are, but your biggest challenge is to get that negative thought pattern out of your head. And that can take a long time. You have to really work on changing the way you think, because you tend to think a lot of stuff based on what you heard as a kid. And that's the voice that you often hear telling you crap. And you need to tell that crap to go away. That's not what really is. And it's not what is for you now. So, oh, Joanne. Yeah. That first year is the hardest. It absolutely is. And you have my sympathies because you've also lost a sibling. I have not faced that yet. Was kind of close in When my oldest brother in California went in for emergency heart surgery, there was a real question about him making it through that. But it is hard with loss so much at once. I completely understand. Let me tell you a little bit about why I completely understand that. When my father died, I was 30. Dad died from an aneurysm. He was told they caught it in time and that he was going to be coming home, but he kept talking to us about how, well, I'm on borrowed time. He had this idea in his head that he should have passed away the same age his father did, but his father passed away kind of young from black lung. He had throat and lung cancer, and his earliest years of working was in the coal mines upstate Pennsylvania. So he had many health issues from that. And so Dad thought he was on borrowed time, and the nearest the doctor could tell is that he just talked himself into it. And suddenly, in a space of 4 hours, he was gone. Even though he'd been in the hospital for 3 days and was supposed to come home that next day, near as they could tell, he talked himself into it. But here's the thing. Dad was the first. We had 11 funerals in 6 months. 2 family houses had to be emptied. One funeral was the day after my father's, one of the old scouts that was one of my pseudo big brothers from the scout troop. It just got to the point where you were afraid when the phone rang. So it's rough. I'm seeing a lot of people have problems this year. A good friend of mine this year has lost both her mother and her father. And she's in Jersey right now trying to deal with settling things because her father ended up, I think her father ended up with COVID, but her mother had died from something else before this all really hit. And there's just her. There's nobody for her to lean on, and it can be a challenge. And I see a lot of people that I know that where they've lost more than one person, and they're having a real challenge with it. And I've tried to be as helpful as I could with their questions because of the fact that I know how hard it can be. 11 funerals in 6 months is a lot. And we lost all 3 of the neighborhood old farts. My dad was 67. His was the first. Hilton across the street was 87, and he had a stroke within hours of hearing that Dad had died because the shock was too much for him. The last person to pass away was the neighbor on the other side, who was the other of the 3 old farts. So we had a tight-knit community of families that weren't even really related to us, but were tight-knit with our family. And we the 3 families all lost their old fart, as it were. And at the end of that, I got the most amazing Christmas present of my life, because at the end of 2 days before Christmas at 3:00 in the morning, I got a phone call to come on over because somebody needed to come pick up the 2-year-old who slept through all the chaos. And it was me or foster care, and I was having none of that. So I became an instant Aunt Mommy in the wee hours of the morning, 2 days before Christmas. And that was how that whole time frame ended. So all this change happened in a lot of ways because and it started with one person passing away. You never know what change is going to happen within that. So even though it's hard, it does wear you down. You get exhausted when you have multiple family members you lose. The only thing I can tell you really that helps the most is be kind to yourself. Make sure you stay hydrated. It sounds silly, but stay hydrated and clean up your diet. Eat as healthy as you can, because the stress and the hormones are going to wreak havoc on your body and on your mind. And take care of yourself. You have to. You need to. And it helps. But you also don't know what blessing is going to hide within all that massive change that happens. If my father had not passed away, I never would have been able to bring Michael here. Um, and I saw the damage that bouncing around in kind of foster situations from one house to another, that his half brother, I saw the damage it was doing to him. I was not going to have that with Mike. Just not. And I don't know that I could have done that. I couldn't have done it alone. And by being here with mom, that was great because it gave me help that I needed. So we were here in her house, and he had a bed here because she would take care of him. So it was less traumatic transition for a 2-year-old. So yeah, I mean, sometimes you have all this chaos and change, and then it's simply clearing the way for something amazing. And we went through all that, and it made my mom and I a lot closer. But it helped because it helped protect this little one who's now not so little, who's in the room above me. Um, so he was the blessing on the other side, was Mike, definitely. And 2021, I do feel that, Gypsy. I do feel, Jersey Gypsy, that it's gonna be better because we've got light that we can see at the end of the tunnel. Oh, and Donna, you've also had shoulder surgery, which is another thing where that's kind of stress filled on you. You've had a rough 2022. Yeah, I lost both grandmothers to dementia problems. I was there when my mom's mother turned around to her in the nursing home and asked her if she were her mother. Boy, did that hit my mom hard. My mom looked a lot like her grandmother, but yeah, dementia is a rough thing. It steals the person while you watch, and it's very frustrating. And I had both grandmothers have that. Not my mom, though. The long-term effects of polio finally were what caught up with my mother all those decades later. That's true. I mean, at that point, then they're not suffering from it anymore. We miss them, but they're healed. That's true. That's true. A friend of mine had a really good point when she talked about how her mother had passed away just before COVID really probably got into the country. So she had a good point in that she said that with all of her mother's asthma and breathing problems, that her mother actually had a fairly peaceful death, and that she felt blessed that it happened before all this hit. As that she didn't feel that her mother would have been able to handle being the last one to pass. And some couples can't. Some couples I knew one couple, they'd been together for 72 years, and they passed pretty close to one another within a couple of weeks. So, oh yeah, we always miss the ones we loved. Well, I know one old grump that didn't necessarily love him, but I do miss the grump. You had polio when you were 4 years old. Yes. So polio is still around. It's mostly eradicated in the US, but it is still out there in the world. March of Dimes still does a huge amount to get vaccines out in third world countries. India still has a massive problem with polio. My mother had 3 small children, and she and her brother both contracted polio. And she, for a while there, and I didn't know it until she happened to just mention it when I was like in my 30s, that she had actually been in one of the big iron lung compression things, but she had it go down her one side. So she always had problems with her one arm. She couldn't really raise it past here. But what finally happened is that here it had damaged the back of her lungs. So they just started giving out. Her lungs just started failing. But she was adamant she never wanted to be on a ventilator. So she just fell asleep and was able to peacefully go. So, that was all she ever wanted, was to be able to go peacefully. And she had that. And I'm thankful to God that they let that happen. She made me power of attorney over healthcare, so I fought like hell to make sure that happened. She let the other kids know there was to be no ventilator, but telling them and had them actually accepting it is a challenge. So, but we're all going to have a better perspective going forward. I think 2021 is really going to be better. Oh, so many families have lost someone, and I know this talk has this chat has turned into kind of somber for some people, but 2020 has had a lot of major changes, whether it's from losing someone you love getting sick and having a long recovery. I've had friends that luckily I haven't known anybody to lose their house or their apartment, but they have had major changes happen because of their jobs. So there have been a lot of reshuffle, just life for everybody. I don't think I know anybody that has not had something have to reshuffle in their lives this year. And sometimes out of the biggest chaos is forcing the world to change. So we'll see what happens. I think 2021 is the start of that. We'll see what we change into. And the best thing I think we can do for 2021 is to be kind to each other. How hard is that? Just be kind. Just that one moment of kindness. You may make somebody's day. You never know. You may be the thing that just finally gives them the boost they need that day. So for 2021, just if you ever have a chance to be kind and just do some kind word or gesture, do it. Just do it. And make that the big thing for 2021. Just be kind. Because 2021, look at what time it is. It's 11:53 on my laptop. So it's almost here. Another few more minutes. It's almost here. This is not actually purple. It's just because it's against the purple sweater. I walk down the street or I'm in a store, and if I make eye contact with anybody, I nod, I say hello. You'd be surprised how many times you get a smile back. This is, it's a really pale blue. There we go, kinda. I get the light to hit it right. It's a really, really pale blue. So against the purple sweater, but it doesn't have a maker's mark or anything. It's just one of the big old pieces that I inherited. There weren't too many that were actually all together. There were quite a few things had no stones, or I have stones that had no settings. My great grandfather was a jeweler. My great aunts did like their jewelry. And Annie Floss left me all her jewelry box. All the jewelry boxes in the house was how it was worded. So that meant I also got the stuff from my great grandfather. Oh, Channel 6 is on the ball, is about to drop. Yeah, I think it's going to be quiet in some areas because in PA, the bars had to close at midnight. They weren't allowed to be open. I know I'm not about to be anywhere where it's big public gathering to see this year out. I'm home. I'll do a virtual public gathering. So what is the big goal for anybody for 2021? We know I have several. heater, getting a living room back. Oh, because this isn't the room we've done the most work on. You might be seeing that soon because there's a big box back here. That's my Christmas present. Mike got me a ring light. I have to figure out how to do this though, because the ring light plugs into the computer. It didn't seem to have power cord to just be on its own. So that will be helpful, but there's no room in here to put it. There's also I don't want to put anything else on that power strip. That's it's getting a little overloaded over there, making me nervous. Yeah, Serendipity, you're behind us, so it's only 9 p.m. there. Don't worry. A friend of mine is in Denmark, a girl that I went through theater school with, and she's already had hers. Zoe, the transatlantic folk singer, and if you can ever look her stuff up, it's fantastic. Zoe, the transatlantic folk singer, is well, I think the Facebook page is just the transatlantic folk singer, but she's in England, and so she's already had hers as well. So yeah, get the YouTube subscribers up. I am amazed how much my subscriptions have jumped in the last 2 months. My subscriptions have jumped massively. I'm up to 362 now. So I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I wanted to hit 350 by Christmas, and I made it on Christmas Eve. I hit 352, and since then I've picked up 10 more. So that's, I think, great, because I started in end of March. I'll have to go look and see when my first one was, but end of March or beginning of April. Let's see, RL Vintage Treasures. You have a channel? Oh, where's my keyboard? Let's see if I realize I don't have any moderators on here tonight. RL. There we are. Hang on, RL Vintage. I will get your link on there. Copy. Come over here. Enter. There we go. That's the link for RL Vintage Treasures. But it does take a while. I had very few subscribers when I first started. I didn't think I was ever going to hit that 100, and then I got to that first 100 pretty quick, because all of a sudden I was in one of the live sales for Miss Pamela and for Pamela Blanchard, and I let her know I was close. I needed 30 more. Well, she kept pushing it, and then I was over at Thrift U, and they said, "Oh, look, she needs 12 more. Come on, surely we could find 12 more." And bam, I suddenly had my first 100 within 2 days. But I had really been working on it. The more chats you're in too, then you get noticed. I've found that was the biggest thing that got me noticed more and more, is the more chats. I'm kind of behind on content because it's been a week and I haven't posted anything, but you can hear the stuffy nose coming back. But that's just because between the allergies, because again today we're going to get more rain and it's going to be warm, so I'm going to get another leaf mold bloom, and I'm just getting over the last one, and I'm hoping I don't get, oh, there it is, Midnight for the East Coast. I can hear all the fireworks going off because they made them legal now in PA again. And there's a fireworks store just down the street in the shopping center. Oh, joy. I hope Gandalf is still just laying on the picnic table out back where he's safe. You love my attic hunting trips. Those were fun, actually. I saw stuff that I didn't even recognize that I had. I didn't remember a few things. And I sold one or two things out of those hunting trips. But I need to be able to get into the other end of the living room and do where I can actually get to some of the boxes and maybe do an unboxing, do a hunting trip down at that end of the living room, see what's down there. But I can't, between my brother and my son, that's become the catch-all, that opening to the living room. Because the archway is where the house stopped in 1911. So when they added on in 1935, they've added another little, this is 11 foot this way. The ceilings are not quite 9 feet. They're not like the other end. They're about 4 inches off. And I think it's 12 this way, but only 10 this way from the wall to the archway. So it's only a little area, but there's a hallway opening here. So the whole layout of the first floor is like a figure 8 pattern, and then there's a little tail that goes into another room at the back of the house. So if I could, but they use that end because it's right inside the door. It's a catch-all. Serendipity by Melanie. Yeah, that's what the problem I have with my. A lot of the boxes that I have left now are the ones that aren't broken down. And since the raccoons were up in that room and we kind of cleaned, but since I had a helper that kind of helped clean like a bull in a china shop. Oh yeah, this box is good. Let's just toss this over here instead of stacking everything. And so it's kind of a mess up there. It does look like a packing box store. It's a mess. But I need to probably break some of them down out by size. Everywhere has stores closing for good, and it's a lot of the smaller mom and pop stores closing, and they are what really drive local economies. Not these big chains. It's their smaller local stores. Those are what drive your economy in your area. Oh, it's all right, doctor. Come here. Come here. She's getting upset. She hears all the noise. Come here. Come here. You want to come up? Nope. You're going to stand in the hallway, stare at the door. What? Protect the house? It's okay. Come here. Come on. You want to come up? It's not like you have a TARDIS that you're going to whisk me away. When I had the chance, I finally saw the Japanese food place was open, so I made a point of going in and just stopping in and ordering some food just one afternoon just to help them out because they had just opened when this hit. Your husband calls my pile of boxes your fire hazard. Honey, don't let him see my videos. He'll freak. Though I can honestly say that where there are outlets, there's another one there. There is specifically a hollowed out big area so that nothing is up against the outlet. And I know that's because there's not many outlets in this old house. But there's a big metal filing cabinet that's in the way of the outlet there. This outlet's wide open. There's a big alcove over here where there's an outlet. And there's one other outlet on the floor up in the other corner. And that's the same way. There's boxes around it, but not over it, because that's actually a plug that's in the floor. Back when that was legal in 1911. So everyone have a good 2021. We're into the new year now. Come here. Stop growling. Oh, she's the only cat I've ever known that growls. Hi, Mike. What's the matter? I don't know if I'm ever going to get him on camera. Probably not. Not for a while, anyway. So it's she's in. I can still hear her growling. She's back in the corner now, behind the old train board, and she's growling at all the noise. So, but Happy New Year's, everyone, and I hope we all have a good 2021. RLV, you're doing your basement. Oh, because you're on lockdown? I am technically considered a necessary worker because I work in a convenience store. So even if they have another bigger lockdown for PA, which I'm sure they're going to have to, at least for the whole eastern side, they're going to tell me I still have to work. I'd rather hide at home. I have more to do. So did any of you get anything really kind of fun and bizarre for Christmas? We had a secret Santa thing from the kids. None of us are kids anymore, that were at theater group. And one of the things I got from my secret Santa is these cards will get you drunk. This will be a fun game to play someday. But that was one of the more surprise things. I also got a giant box of bubble wrap. It's all the small bubbles. I need to find some big bubble wrap because I don't think and I still need some to pack. So, yeah, now we're going to hear an hour of fireworks in people's backyards, in the street. My father used to set them off when it was still illegal. He'd stop it south of the border. What percentage have I gotten towards the heater? I had been up to about, well, let's say that's $7,000. This is the price I found so far. And I had a little over 1,000, but then the car had to get repaired. So I'm back down to 900. But that'll change when the next paycheck comes in, because Christmas Day was double time. And all of that pay is going right into the heater. So I don't have much because I'm also got the, I'm the one that has to figure out the taxes on the house, the heating oil, and then the car needed repair because steering fluid was leaking. How many of you are old enough to remember Armstrong steering for a car before power steering came into being? Boy, that was a real surprise when your car suddenly does that because the steering fluid leaked. That was a challenge. So I will get there. And serendipity, somebody suggested I check Habitat for Humanity tonight. So that's not somewhere I had considered checking. All I could find on LIHEAP's website is that, yeah, double time. Double time was great. Double time was great. I was exhausted because my knee kept going out. My hip was tired out. We still haven't figured out why my knee keeps popping out of place. Or the ligament keeps snapping is what's going on, and then it kind of like just gives out. I'm gonna see about that because the offices for the Daily Times are not that far from me, and I'm gonna see if I can get rolls of newsprint from them, because I noticed that Jeffrey from Real Nifty Vintage, he does that. Oh, broke your steering pump. That's not a good thing to do. That's not a cheap repair. Mine wasn't too awful because it was mostly just hoses. So I'm trying. I kind of did my research. I kind of lurked and watched quite a few people going, am I really gonna jump into this? But like Terry, my plan was not to jump into YouTube though until 2021. 2020 had other ideas. 2020 had other plans there. So you can't get the part rolls any longer. Oh, serendipity. I had trouble getting, my car's a 2001 Chevy Malibu, and I had trouble getting parts. And I managed to find some parts off of old Chevy Malibus that were at junkyards. Because, needing a new headlight, it was cheaper to get one off of a car at the junkyard than it was to get a brand new one. And it worked just fine. But then I had somebody that knew how to do that. Having somebody that knows how to do something is half the challenge sometimes, is finding the person that knows the ins and outs of something. So that's a challenge. Thank you, Just in Time. Happy New Year to you too. Sorry, I have to keep drinking the tea. It's just that with all the sinus stuff, the medication dries everything out. So it dries my throat out too. So, but I also needed the caffeine to wake up the rest of the way. My sleep schedule's been so whacked this entire week. Just completely whacked. So, but the goals I have to figure out new goals for 2021. Some of the same goals are carrying over. The heater's carrying over. That's definitely got to carry over. One of the smaller goals is trying to find more ways to winterize the house in some things. We got some of the kitchen straightened out more. So I can actually, we got the air conditioner out of that window finally. But then I found more air leaks. You don't realize in an old house how many air leaks can be around. I found out one of the kitchen windows where the plaster meets the window frame, that little edge, it's not a problem on the other side, but just on the one edge, you could put your hand there and you could feel cold air blow through there when the wind's blowing. So somewhere there must be a gap in the pointing of the bricks somewhere out on the other side or somewhere around the window. So that'll be a thing to fix. And I found out in the powder room, I was stocking up some things and putting them in the cabinet in the powder room sink, and I realized that where the pipe goes into the wall is this big hole, and there's all this cold air from the basement coming up into there. So that's some of my smaller goals that I'm going to be hitting right away, is getting that taken care of. Last year I had I bought a big roll of plastic that's kind of heavy duty, but it folds out, so if you folded it out, it'd be pretty wide, but it's just wide enough to do the screen door for out onto the wood. HUD for home repairs, that's a double-edged sword there. I've watched what HUD did to the house next door, and even though it had brand new windows put in, they busted them, tore them all out, and then put ones that were crappier in. But, we do what we can. One problem I have is 2 of these windows here aren't in correctly, and they're supposed to have a lifetime warranty. And every time I've called to try to get them to come and fit them in properly, they have subcontractors that come in for Window Pro. And then they keep changing the subcontractor. So every time I get a chance to call, then I get a different person who's supposed to call me back, and I get quite the runaround. And they're pretty obnoxious because they make you write the review of how good they are before they ever put window number 1 in. It's kind of a racket. So, yeah, I had a few of those with blow dry it to tighten it up. The only thing I didn't really like about them is that that's a one-use, one-time thing. So I got a heavier gauge plastic, and I cut it to fit on that on the old wooden screen door that's out for this one porch. And I have it marked with Sharpie marker on the edge, exactly what it's for. And I have that for the attic windows too. I have, because those are still all original to the house. So I have it written in the corner what window they're for. And so because it's a heavier gauge, I can then use it on those windows each year and it works just as well. It actually works a little better because some of those ones where the plastic is that so thin that you can blow dry it and tighten it up, that I found it works probably just a little bit better because it's a little thicker, but because I can also cut it to fit. So it's worked out pretty well. But those, whatever way you choose to do it, if you have a drafty window that's drafting from the old wooden windows, then having some kind of plastic over them can be a big help. Because we don't really have drapes on most of the windows. My mother never really had. She never had winter drapes. A friend of mine's mother did. She had these nice lightweight ones for the summertime, but boy, she had these lined heavy suckers. I used to help her put them up for the wintertime. And during the day, she'd be home because, you know, our moms were home. And during the day, she'd open up the curtains so the sunlight could come in. But then as the sun started going down and the sun passed that window, she'd close that curtain up, keep all the heat in the house. Hello, Mimi's Treasure Cottage. How are you? Happy New Year to you too. We've just been having a little chat for the last hour since we're all home. So does anybody have any questions for me for this overstuffed house since we're here with no real game plan for tonight? We got a few more minutes left. So I figure I'll go to at least 12:30. But if anybody has any questions for me, I mean, we did kind of already cover how I ended up with all this stuff. So we have, in my house, we know is 1911 and 1935. Nobody's got any questions, or is everybody falling asleep? Wouldn't blame you. That used to be so funny as my mom got older, is everybody'd be up till midnight, and we used to have this tradition in the house of blowing this old bugle out front. And the neighbors would come out. One neighbor always came out with a wooden spoon and a pan, and she'd bang on that for New Year's. But the bugle is now in a top of a closet that I can't get to it. But it would be funny is because by 12:30, everybody'd be so tired they'd go to bed. Like, she was in her 70s after all, and my brother's health wasn't great, and I would usually be working retail. So, you know, you'd hit midnight, you'd make your noise out front, Happy New Year, and by 12:30, everybody was asleep. eBay goals for this year. Oh, yeah. Like I said, I was planning the channel for 2021. 2020 kind of forced my hand. That my health and being dropped in my hours at work kind of forced my hand to do it an entire year earlier, where I wasn't quite ready, or I don't feel like I was organized enough and ready enough. So the eBay store and Etsy store have kind of languished while I scrambled to do live sales and deal with shipping, and I've been real behind. Part of that's been health, part of that's been work, because we lost an entire shift on third shift because one or two of them had been exposed to somebody who might have been a COVID case. So then anybody that worked with them, all of them had to be out. for 14 days. So I suddenly was getting hours all over the place, but they were different shifts. I was bouncing around like crazy. So everything has been behind. So for 2021, the plan is to get everything more streamlined, and we've been trying to figure out the best place and best way to do that so that I can streamline the shipping, so that I can then I'll have more time and more space to have things set and ready for what's going on eBay, what's going on Etsy. I have 2 plastic tubs over here of stuff that has to go on Etsy that I just have not had time to do and put online. And so once we get, I think it's like a sliding puzzle. This whole house is like a sliding puzzle where, you've got the little squares and you got to move this one to move this one here to move another one here. You get another one up this way. So we're trying to get all those pieces slid into some kind of order for this so that I have a little more space to separate out, and I'll have a space that's not my desk, especially now that I have the ring light, because that's part of that plan, that I'll have a space to do the live sales that is not my desk, because that's been a big problem for eBay. My desk, this whole side of it gets filled with the box that's got the stuff for the sale, and then it ends up staying here until I can get it packed. So eBay ends up behind because I have no room to sit anything that I'm trying to list. So I can sit it here, look at it, okay, yeah, this, and then put it on the shelf over here in the hallway, because that sliding puzzle has just gotten so many pieces, they're so tight, they don't want to wiggle anymore. So my goal for this year, and we've been working on that, and my son's actually, we've been bouncing ideas back and forth. We've been working on this other room in the playroom so that we can kind of get things together so that I have a separate area for the live sales, so that this area with the desk can be just for the eBay and Etsy, so I can keep my eBay and Etsy stores filled and going, as well as doing the live sales. Because I have some stuff that I'm just sitting on because it would financially be smarter for me to put it on eBay than it would be for me to do it at a live sale. And I know I had somebody give me grief about my first live sale having that gorgeous amber glass Northwood plate, because yes, it was worth more on eBay. But at the time I looked it up, when I was deciding whether to put it in a live sale or not, it wasn't going for $75 on eBay. That was a recent thing that it had jumped to that. It was closer to what I got for it, and I was quite happy with what I got for it. So that's also been the challenge, is while I'm doing research for stuff, that price point of what it is at the time that I look at it is part of the decision of why it's going to a live sale. And some stuff is just more fun at a live sale because I know it's more of what you guys are looking for. I have still got a few boxes of books. I'm not necessarily going to put those into a live sale unless it's something like vintage kids books or something that could be used for junk journaling that I know you guys have an interest in. So if I can get a separate place where I can keep all that together, then what is this new comment? Hi, Carla. Well, here's the one problem that having it cleared is you have to have a place for it to go to. That's why the name is Thisoverstuffed House, is that paper. I wish I had papers here. I don't have a newspaper. I don't get one delivered. So I kind of struggle to get newspapers to use for packing. And there's not really any here. This is all from emptying the storage unit. So yeah, that's part of the problem, is you have to have somewhere to move it to, which is one of the reasons we worked on that smaller room at the back of the house, because then there's also a buffet back there that had its legs cut down So it could be used for the kids for storing all the toys. So it's a perfect height to have things sit on for a live sale. So we'll have everything sorted out. So that'll become the room for the live sales. And then that lets me get back to having here as a place. So I do save Scout stuff. And where'd my little box go? I was just given, first off, the box itself is pretty cool. You don't see the wooden cigar boxes too often, but somebody gave me all these patches. Now, this one, Valley Forge Council, National Scout Camporee. So all these are from the Jamboree in 1985, I guess. I love this one. This one's not going anywhere. Look at that. Yosemite Area Council from California. But their son didn't want them. He said, yeah, give them away. I don't want them. Here it is. Southwest Michigan Council. That's what this patch is that I'm looking at. 1910 to 1985. The 11th National Scout Jamboree, Fort A.P. Hill, Virginia. So all this little box of patches are all from that. And I would love to have a patch from every state in the U.S., and I don't. But boy, this really suddenly helped because, let's see, I've got Fairfield, Connecticut is in here. There's a patch here for Milwaukee. This is from a camporee in Miami, Florida in 1982. I have older patches too. I love the image on this one. Look at the little trash pandas. But that's from Indiana. So I've suddenly picked up a few states, which I think is awesome. When my son went to the Jamboree, he managed to get for me a patch from the, what's it called? The American Council. There's another word before it, but it's the council that's for the children of Americans living abroad. And it was from the branch of it that was in France. And so because it was the anniversary of World War I, half of it is Flanders Field with the poppies. And it is really beautiful artwork on that patch. So yes, I do have Scout stuff. I do collect Scout stuff. You know, older stuff is even better. I have to get back to Misty and see if she still has it. She had a Scout book, but she said that she had the first edition. She doesn't, but she's got the first printing from the publisher who took it over. So we have to talk about that one because that's not a book I have. I'm always on the lookout for older Scout stuff, especially from like the early days of scouting, the teens, the 20s, the 30s. It's really hard to find Scout stuff in the 30s. That just doesn't show up. Hi, Tia Fane. Let's see, what other question do we have here? Oh, our attachment to boxes is crazy when we are resellers. Yes, it is. I miss working in the gift shop at the art museum. I can tell you, man. Free bubble, not necessarily bubble wrap. We'd save the bubble wrap, but we would have just a massive surplus of packing peanuts. So I usually could get them without paying for them. And so I kind of miss that. I do kind of miss that. I don't miss handling glass that's worth $5,000. Dale Chihuly glass pieces from Dale Chihuly Studios. I don't miss handling those, but because they were a little nerve-wracking. You just had to take your time and make sure you had a good firm grip on it. But I do kind of miss the supplies I was able to get because you could always get nice little shipping boxes. It was great. So, but let's see. We talked about my eBay and Etsy goals is basically to get spaces. Your niece is a Girl Scout leader. Oh, wow. I didn't last long as a Girl Scout. Harry Tornado just got a huge, oh, dude, badges and pins. I am behind on watching videos. I need to go find that Harry Tornado video. Oh, dude. For collecting wise in the scouting community, there's a lot of people that collect the patches. The patches are the big thing. Pins, not so much. I think neckerchiefs might be set. No, neckerchiefs are probably third. Scout handbooks are definitely second. Patches are first. Handbooks are second. Then the neckerchiefs, and then kind of all the other stuff. Mugs are easy to come by. They don't sell for much. But if you're a reseller, and these are not something that you want to resell at a live sale. If you find Boy Scout patches like I just showed you, those, if you're going to resell them, the best place to resell them is eBay. It absolutely is eBay, because you have a much bigger market to find them. I would love to find some big patch of old ones. Oh, wow. I will have to go find that video of Harry Tornado. Oh, I'll probably be drooling. I'll need to have a bib on for all the drool. So, yeah. But I was saying about Girl Scouts, I grew up with a Boy Scout family. Now, my sister was a Girl Scout, but my sister's 14 years older than I am. So her experience and my experience are way different. I grew up kind of the troop mascot of Troop 184 in Chester. So I would kind of sneak in if somebody forgot something at summer camp. It used to be at Delmont. Now they call it Musser Scout Reservation. And, they'd just take her along. So I'd tag along to merit badge classes for the day. And, it was great. I thought it was awesome. So I kind of by default was, I read Scout handbooks before. One of the first I remember reading through. I would do some of the work for the badges, but I couldn't get the badges. And then as I got into my teens, somebody started an Explorer post, which is a co-ed branch of the Boy Scouts. Now, this is before they split Explorers in half. Explorers still exist, but they are more career-oriented. And venturing is more outdoor skills-oriented. Back in the early 80s, Explorer posts were kind of a mix of both. So while we had some that were interested in nursing and would go into Philly and do that stuff, the rest of us would go camping. And I was with the part that went camping. So, but I was so disappointed when I was in Girl Scout. I was a brownie. And then when I got to Girl Scouts, we had a Girl Scout leader that did not like camping. She was there solely to get her daughter up to the award level. And as soon as her daughter hit the gold star, she quit. No warning, no nothing, no replacement. She quit. And so I went, Mom, I'm not really having much fun here anyway. She won't let us go boating. She won't let us do anything we're not allowed to shoot even a bow and arrow. This was boring to me. I'd already shot 22s with Boy Scouts. So I was bored. And so, I left before I got too far in Girl Scouts. So I didn't stay very long. I think I lasted 2 years at best. Do I have collectible Disney? I don't have much Disney. And it's surprising to me that some of the older stuff I've had has not really sold well. Disney is such a rough market too. You have to look for stuff that says Walt Disney Productions. That's the older stuff. I do know that much about it. But at the same time, there's newer stuff that I missed out on, a mug, for example, that's in one of my shopping videos. And if I had known, I didn't know, because I see Disney mugs all the time, and not all of them are worth reselling, but that particular style would have been really worth it, because that particular style of that particular series of mugs wasn't made that many of them, so they sell for $30. So I didn't know. And then I've had vintage Disney stuff that just kind of sat there and didn't do anything. So I have a big Disney piece in my attic, because I have a put that back over there. I have a vintage Disney toy box, which I have no idea. I've never been able to date it. I saw one recently, somebody trying to sell one that's in worse shape than mine, and he wanted $1,000 for it. He didn't get it. I don't know if he put it back up on eBay or not, but he wanted $1,000. It was more beat up than mine. He certainly didn't get it. And it's the first time this year that I've ever seen another one. And mine is a Walt Disney toy box, and it has a lithograph of the three little pigs and the wolf going around three sides of it. And it's probably from the early 1950s. So it's a challenge for Disney. You sold Mickey Mouse glasses, 4 of them for $45. See, that's not bad. Disney, I think, is tough because it's such a huge, huge market. So I think it's kind of tough. I know I've seen some YouTubers talk about they do nothing but plush toys, and they do well with Disney when they find the characters that aren't the main characters, when they find the stuffed toys that are not the typical, the main character. One of them had one of the turtles from Finding Nemo as a plush turtle, and that was their best sale this year, was finding that stuffed turtle. Yeah, Disney is a tough one to learn about, because there's just so much. There's so much there. And then there's so many subsections at Disney. There are people that just collect for one Disney movie. There's people that just collect Mickey or Donald. There's just people that only want to collect the figurines or the music boxes. It's a lot. It's a lot. Pay $1 you have to set on them? I don't quite know what you mean there, RL Vintage, but yeah, there's a lot of collectibles out there, and there's a lot of genres. I know I watch out for Gilbert and Sullivan related stuff, and but that's a market that's mostly on eBay, because it's such a specialized market. My big challenge to learn about is glass. I know nothing about glass. I'm not a big glass fan. I like porcelain more. And some of the fancy art glass, that's why I had a Northwood piece. I've had 2 Fenton pieces in my live sales. They do very well. It definitely has done very well, but I just don't know that much about it. So I have a lot to learn. I do have a lot to learn for that. And that's something that you can do. You can do better at the live sales for some things if you get enough people than you do on eBay for some things, because eBay, the market's flooded with glass, absolutely flooded with certain ones. White glass, milk glass, it's absolutely flooded with it. And I've seen people do better putting that on their live sales than they have if they to put it on eBay. Tia Fane, you're that way about silver? Biggest thing to remember about silver is the number 925. Absolutely the biggest first thing you have to know about silver, because 925, I don't know what the number technically means. I just know that 925 means it's a high quality. It is sterling silver. That's about all I know about silver. And I know that silver plate, your best bet for anything silver plate is if you can name the pattern, because there might be people looking to match a pattern if you find silver plate in silverware. Because I've sold some vintage silverware on eBay last year in 2019. I did really well with some of the sterling pieces, and I only had one piece. I only had the fork. That's all I had. I had a single fork, and I got $82 for a single fork. The only reason I remember how much I got was because it was one fork. But the pattern, I went nuts looking online to find the pattern. And when I could put the pattern name in, people were looking for that. And it was really cool looking. Kind of had that Art Nouveau kind of look. And it had a lot of wear to the tines, but people didn't care. They were after the pattern on that handle. You have a lovely Edwardian ladies button hook with a sterling silver handle. Oh, nice. That's nice. You have a Girl Guide attendance book from 1939. Oh, that's cool, Rhonda. See, people underestimate that the books, the ephemera, the paper stuff, there could be a lot of money hiding in that stuff. Because it's a one of a kind. You're just not going to find it again. I had somebody laughing hysterically at me that I work with because I sold paper plates and packs of napkins on the live sale that was vintage 70s Hallmark stuff, and they could not believe until I showed them that little clip of the live sale that I had sold it, because that paper stuff is the stuff you just don't see later. The little booklets, the leaflets, the flyers, the napkins, it's meant to be used and thrown away. You just don't see it again. So to have an attendance book from 1939 for the Girl Guides, that's kind of cool, because that's the kind of thing that you just don't see all the time. Let's see. Joanne, you said that you find glass very time consuming. I do as well. I really do as well. Which is why I've been very limited on what I've done with glass. If I find another Fenton piece that's marked, or I find another small piece that looks interesting, I will probably pick it up and put it in a live sale, because you guys will tell me what it is. There's enough people that collect it that show up at the live sales that they will tell me what it is. Or I'll even just put it in a haul video, and then they'll put it in the comments what it is. Because I just don't know. It is just so much to look up. And I don't really know where online, if there is a good site to look for glass. And the type of glass I like for myself is that elegant ware from the 1930s, the late 1920s. I really like that stuff. But right now, because most of that's clear glass, you just don't see it. I saw 4 little glasses of it in my shopping video about glass the day I found I think that was the same day I found the Fenton, or else the day I found the Northwood, and I didn't get it. And I'm still kicking myself over it, because you just so rarely find it, and it was such a gorgeous pattern. And I left them there, and I was stupid, because I love that stuff and I so rarely find it. But I was so budget conscious that day that I was just there to get stuff not for me, just going to get stuff for flipping. And I kick myself now. I'm not ever going to do that mistake again. I also left, because I didn't know glass, I also left a gorgeous Bohemian crystal red berry bowl with it had the big bowl, and then it only had 3 of what should have been 4 of the little berry bowls with it. But it was all gorgeous crystal, and I should have snagged that too for the price it was. But I didn't know. But now I know. Now if I ever see it again, I have a clue. I didn't have a clue before. RL Vintage Treasure. Glassware, Holt Howard, Carnival, Fenton. Yeah. Yeah, there is a lot to look up, which is why you'll see a lot of the bigger resellers say that you should just work on what you enjoy. What you enjoy and what you like. Jocelyn from Crazy Lamp Lady has a huge following for people that like glass because she loves glass. And she'll tell you about it too. And she'll give you hints about it. And she'll explain stuff. And just like with her lamps, when you could tell when the shipping changed because her videos stopped being so many lamps as then switching to glass. But honestly, if you're ever going to binge watch anybody, go back and watch her earlier videos about stuff because you will learn a huge amount. And it's really worth it for how she explains things. That's what I like about George the Antique Nomad as well, is he explains what he's found so that you can learn about it. You found a Walt Disney vintage child's dress. Oh, wow. Congrats. That's nice. You have 1 bid and 6 days to go. I don't even know what I've got for children's clothes. I know there's a steamer trunk in my attic with stuff from the late 40s, early 50s, a lot of baby clothes. I'm not anywhere near that yet. So I kind of like, right now, I'm just enjoying the treasure hunt. You know, I do like, I collect fairies, but I like the porcelain ones. It used to be so much harder to find them. Now resin ones are everywhere. It's just a lot harder to find older porcelain ones. I like collecting vintage snowmen, but not Frosty. I've never been a big fan of Frosty the Snowman. I never did like that cartoon. You have spatter painted blown glassware. Oh, that's cool. That sounds cool. People did used to pay really good money on depression glass. Yeah, when I go down the rabbit hole, I like doing the research sometimes. Like the Japanese stuff I love. And I found 2 really good sites that'll tell me that it's easier for the Japanese one though. But I found a good site that has this great page that's a lot of the Japanese marks, including the marks for export. It has marks for stuff for in Japan that are in Japanese, and then it also has a lot of the marks for the stuff for export. And it has a lot of the subsidiary marks that were for Noritake. Noritake early on would not make stuff necessarily for export to the US or anywhere else. They would use their designs, but they'd hire a subsidiary company to make them for export. And this is still stuff marked Nippon, or some of it marked occupied Japan. And this site has all that. It's really cool. I'll try to remember to put the link for both of them in the description for this probably tomorrow. Antique box of Carter's baby clothes. I would be surprised if I find any Carter's baby clothes here, because my parents didn't. Carter's was always a little more high end. So unless the great aunts or the grandparents bought it, I doubt there's Carter's stuff here. Never know though. 6 of us kids, 16-year age spread. Family's been in this house since 1962. I showed up 2 years later. I have no idea. I do know that it is harder to find children's clothing. Children's clothing, especially once you get out of the baby years. Once you get past a toddler, it is a lot harder for them to find vintage children's clothing for in between there. So, doll collectors or vintage. Yes, doll collectors do like the children's clothing. I know that from Wilcox estate, there's doll clothes here scattered. I know there's a box of doll clothes upstairs, there should be at least one other box in this room. Not sure. There might be more. Oh, it has a, oh, you found it even in the box. RL Vintage, are you saying that you found the Carter stuff in the box? Because the box, having the box is a huge deal for any of that stuff. To have the original box is just mind-blowing. That's fantastic. I know at the other end, I have two probably about 1910 men's shirts that are still in the box. And they're the kind that you had to have that collar that they'd put on separately. And I know they're at the other ends. I don't know what condition they're in because I never took them out of the box, but they're still in their original box. So, you know, I've got vintage stuff scattered everywhere. You know, you just, every box is a treasure hunt. Yeah, the box is why you bought it. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes when I did a house clean out, found all these beat up old tan and orange Lionel box for trains. Some of them were broken. I mean, they were squashed flat. The seam part, the glue had come apart or they'd been ripped. It didn't matter. I was able to sell every one of those boxes, no matter what condition it was in, simply because it's so hard to find the boxes. It didn't matter that I didn't have the trains. The boxes alone sold. It was fantastic. Oh, huh. Isn't it vintage if it's at least 20 years old? Is that where the mark-off is? Vintage is, I mean, as defined, I think, by pretty much by eBay and Etsy, that if it's, how old is vintage, Anna wanted to know. And I think the mark is 20 years, which in this case, well, in this case, if it's 20 years, even my son's vintage by that rule because he's 26. RL Vintage, it's in your last video. Oh, I will have to definitely take a look at that. But I think the definition on eBay and Etsy for vintage is it just 20 years? Because I know, like, they're talking about, I've seen them talk about, you know, these vintage toys. And my mind, I'm thinking vintage toys stuff from the 60s. They're talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from the 80s and 90s. I have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from the 80s and 90s here somewhere. I know I have them. I think they're in a box in the attic. But yeah, I also know I have, and I glutted the market. Sometimes you can find something so unique, and you find a lot of them in one place, and you're the only one on eBay selling them, that you accidentally glut your own market and you drop the price. Let me tell you about this one. Okay. So when I inherited the books, it got to the point where they just were stuffing things in my car to give me, just because we had a short time window to empty the house. Well, I got an entire case and a half case of not for resale vintage Pampers diapers. On the box, they actually say that, you know, that these are the brand new rubber pantless diapers. So these are from the very first year that they issued truly disposable diapers. The first few boxes I put on eBay, I was getting $80 a box. But then I just kept putting one up, you know, every once in a while one would sell, I'd put another one up. And then the price, now remember, I had a full case from the hospital case. So each hospital case had like 40 boxes in it. So I had a case and a half. So I kind of accidentally glutted the market. And in doing that, the price dropped. So I stopped selling them. And I know the half case is at the other end of the living room. So now it's probably been 10 years since I've sold any of them. So now I think might be the time to sell more. Oh, so yeah, so sometimes you have to be careful you don't glut your own market when you find something unusual like that. Let's see. Should you put the box and should you sell the clothes separate? RL Vintage Treasures, I think the best thing you could do to research that is go on eBay, do your search, and then when you get your search results, when you're looking at your screen, over on the left, and sometimes you have to scroll down to find it, there'll be a spot where you can check off completed listings and sold listings. Because you need to find out what there's those kind of things. If you could find comparable things, find out what they're selling for, because that's the true market value, what they actually sell for, not what somebody's asking for, what they're actually selling for. See if you can first find a Carter's box without any. If you just put in Carter's box, you're going to get everything that has the box with it. You also need to try to pin down the year. That's going to be the harder part, to pin down roughly the vintage. I wouldn't know the price. The only way you can do is to actually like try to research it yourself, but make sure you're doing it through sold listings. Sometimes I've not found things in sold listings, but I have found them in completed listings. That's helpful too. But you have to always take it with a grain of salt, because sometimes you look at those prices on completed listings and they're just crazy high. And that's why it's a completed listing and not a sold listing, because it's too high and you can decide to try to undercut that. I usually put stuff through most things I will put through as an auction first. Depends on what it is, but I'll put them through as an auction. And then if they don't sell, I will sometimes I take Danny's advice, Danny, the niche lady, and then I'll put it at a higher price and make it a buy it now, but I'll also put a best offer on there. And then it just sits for 30 days. And then some things I've gone through, I still have a few more. I have to go back in and I will end them, because I learned this trick. This helps with the algorithm. Don't just let your stuff sit as buy it nows on eBay forever. If they've been up there for, say, 2 months or more, you only paid $2 on all of it? Oh, you lucky bugger. You are definitely going to make your $2 back. I would be very surprised if you did not. But when you have stuff sitting in your eBay store that's been rotating, and because they automatically, buy it nows automatically relist, is go in after, I try to do it after the second or third month. I don't like them to last more than that. And I will end the listing, but instead of just using relist, I use sell similar, and it flips everything up and it's all the same stuff. I might tweak the title, I might tweak a little of the description. But I then, some things I've changed the photograph, but then I relist it that way using sell similar, because then the eBay algorithm thinks it's a brand new listing. So then it pops you back up into the top first. You ideally want to be in those first 2 pages of search results. And the older your listing is, the lower and lower it gets bumped on those search results. So after about 2 months, no more than 3, go back in and end it, and then use sell similar to get it back up onto your store. It does make a difference. I've seen quite a few. Lindy Glenn, I think that's her last name. I've watched her stuff and she talks a lot about that. Harry Tornado has talked about it. A couple of them have talked about it, is that knowing how to manipulate that algorithm is important. And I've learned an awful lot about that this year since I really started trying to pay more attention to trying to flip this around to be more of a business than I have. I mean, I've sold under a different name on eBay since eBay was 2 years old. eBay does not have a policy for you if you should get sick and can't get to your computer and you have listings and people can't get a hold of you because they've bought something, and they will kick you off. They had no policy for medical emergency. So I ended up losing all that. I mean, I had over 2,000 feedback and I lost all of that. So I had to start all over. So I did. And then last year I changed everything's name to Thisoverstuffedhouse so that there was coherence of the eBay store, the Etsy store, and the YouTube channel. So I kind of basically had to start all over again. But I've learned more. I mean, eBay has changed a great deal from how easy it was. And it is definitely buyer slanted. It's not seller slanted at all. I think they're kind of shaking the wrong end of the stick there to not make it so uneven a playing field. But you pay, I just can't get over that you've paid $2 on all of it. Do you have any idea of the era of clothing it is? Like what decade it might be from? Because that's important. That's always important with vintage clothing, is to know the decade. I've had to help a friend of mine I had to help a friend of mine try to ID a dress that she had been given as to whether it was past 1900 or before 1900. So that was a challenge, but it made a difference. I also, when she let me see the dress, I was able to show her that it was actually missing a piece. It should have had a bustle. It had the hooks for it. People don't realize is that once you get to 1900, those very early days, like 1890 to about 1910, some dresses did still have a bustle, but the bustle would be removable. And so it was just like this puffed up piece of material that they would just hook onto the back of the dress. I used to do the research for costumes for my mother. My mother was a professional seamstress and did a lot of costumes. And I used to do the research for her. So RL Vintage, you're saying no. I'm assuming that means you don't know the decade yet. A little pink coat that has a bonnet. Huh. Okay. RL Vintage. And if you go to my about part for my website, for my YouTube channel, my email is on there. Heck, I actually will. Your mom sewed for a living too? Yep, sewed mine. Sad part is it's like the shoemaker's kids with no shoes. She never taught me how to hell sew. And I begged for a long time. 65 at. I'm gonna put because I put it in for the live sale. There's my email that I use for the YouTube channel and for eBay and all that. Send me a couple of pictures of some of the clothes, especially the coats. Coats changed more often in style than the everyday clothing did. So it's sometimes a lot easier to pick a decade based on a coat. So send me a couple of pictures of one or two or three things, and I'll see if I can't ID the time frame for you for the children's clothing. Okay? So we'll see if that can help. So it is 1 o'clock, and I think it's about time to go to bed. My nose is all stuffed up again, too. So we now start another year. And since I don't have to work tomorrow, I can see if I get up to that third floor room in the daylight. See if I can find some large bubble wrap because I ran out. And I have a couple of things here that I have not packed because they absolutely must have the bigger bubble wrap around them. So, yeah, I've looked up some because as I would find some vintage children's clothing, I had sold it. Though most of what I found was from the 60s and 70s because it was stuff of mine or stuff of my cousin. So, but yeah, my goal tomorrow is to see if I can find any big bubble wrap because I have this little gorgeous little girl who I have in her first layer, and I'm not going to unwrap her all the way, but I have made sure she has an arm that comes out here holding an apple, so she's got an extended arm and her head. So I pack trying to make sure that every extremity is really well covered, but she's not. That kind of thing needs the bigger bubbles to be more protective. She'll have a layer of small bubbles underneath, and then I want to put the bigger bubbles over top of her before I ship her because of those little thin little porcelain extremities of an arm and little fingers. So that's my goal for daylight in the morning, is to spend a couple hours getting that packing room squared away. Maybe I'll make a video. You can see what I'm talking about what chaos those raccoons caused. Because we threw out everything that they had done anything to. But, I had a bull in a china shop helping. So it's kind of like all just tossed all over. I need to at least get a light up there, and because there is no actual light in that room. It was built as a servant's quarter room. So there's no light bulb right inside the door. There's no light. So, yep, bigger and better for 2021. We're all on our way. We've all had a year where we've been stuck at home. We've had to really be introspective, think about what we want to do. We've all had to go through our own stuff. Now it's time to implement the stuff that maybe we thought we were about starting to change in 2020. Now is the time to really kind of kick that into high gear. I think we're all going to still see lockdowns throughout the winter just because it is the winter. You're not out as much. Flu's going to start coming through some areas as well as having COVID on top. So we just got to get, I think as we hit into spring, we'll all see a much bigger and brighter 2021. We do still have to get through the winter, but I think we'll be okay because we can see bigger and better things for this coming year. So my goal, personal goal for dealing with other people is to just try to remember to be kind. Be that, even if it's just that thoughtful gesture. That somebody was very kind to me for Christmas. Somebody sent me $100 bill. I have no idea who. It says for the heater fund. That's all I know. I don't know if it was a friend of mine. I don't know if it was from the YouTube channel. I don't know. The postmark was smeared, so I can't even tell you what state it came from. Came from in the US, I know that. So somebody already kicked off my year by being very kind to me. It's a $100 bill for the heater fund. So it went into the bank today. That was one of the errands. So bigger and better things for 2021. Absolutely. So you guys all have a good night. RL Vintage Treasures. I will check out your video, and I will see about helping you out to ID, at least if we could pin down what decade those clothes are from. And next Thursday will be a live sale, hopefully from the new spot for them back in what we still call the playroom. It was the playroom because that's where all the toys were stored for all of us kids. and that's where Mom's sewing machine was too. But hopefully we'll have it all set up and the ring light set up, and the live sales will be from out there, and I can have my desk completely back in here, which will make things smoother and easier to operate. The other thing too is the scale is out there, but not in the shipping room. That's backwards. That's really kind of backwards. Yeah, it's been really sweet when that happens, when somebody pays for an item on another channel. And I sent a couple things out right away as soon as I got the addresses that other people have paid for. The only thing that hasn't gotten to somebody that paid for to go to somebody else is there's something that's supposed to go to Jeffrey from Real Nifty Vintage, but Jeffrey is one of the ones that got the matches, and you can't send flammable items through USPS. So I have to get that together and go see. I've been kind of leery about sending a small box through UPS. So I will get that sorted out this week and get the 2 boxes out that have the matches, the old matches in them, sorted out, so I can get them out. But yeah, he's getting something that somebody else paid for. That's the only one I have left. Everything else, the other 2 items got shipped out right away as soon as I got the address. So, but that's always kind of sweet when somebody does that. So as I still have 14 watching, you guys all have a good night. If you haven't had your new year yet, hope you have fun when midnight hits, for those on the West Coast. And for those on the other end of Canada, I know there's a few of you that are on the other side of Canada from me. So someday I'm going to get up into Canada. I've never been up there. Jeffrey said to remove the matches, and I wanted to double check about that with him if he wants me to do that. I asked the other person, and they would like the matches still in there for the one thing that was the tube of matches, the old wooden matches. So they would like them still in there. So that has to go UPS. And so I've seriously been kind of wondering if I couldn't find just a small tin to stick them in, but I haven't found anything small enough. But I'm going to double check with Jeffrey. I have not had the chance. I usually rewatch my lives so I can see all the stuff that was in the chats, and it's just been kind of nuts these last 2 weeks. So I have yet to be able to do that. So that's also on my list for this weekend to get done, so I can double check all that. So, and some of you have boxes sitting in my car, all because I got tossed out of the post office. It's just because he just ran out of time. They didn't know until, for those of you that weren't here in the very beginning, my local post office didn't know until 3 o'clock yesterday, well, the day before New Year's Eve, that they were closing at noon on New Year's Eve. So, and I had been in line, but it was only one guy, and it was a long line, and I think Tom was just wiped out and overwhelmed. And I had told him I had more in the car and I'll get back in line. But then when I got back in line, he's like, no, we're closed. I was like, oh, crap. So, don't worry, that'll get taken care of this weekend, because they'll be open again on, what's today? Thursday? Friday? Today's Friday. So they should be open again Saturday morning for a few hours. So, all right, you guys have a good night. Have a good new year. And I'll try to get a video posted up the beginning of this coming week, and we'll have another live sale Thursday night, another night owl sale. Good night, everybody. Happy New Year. Remember, 2021, the year to be kind to one another. Bye.